Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Pointers with the Pros. I'm Jeff Jenkins.
And I'm Kaylin Starr.
And today we are wrapping up things with Mark Winger, who is the owner of Kentucky Blue Blast. Mark was featured on the last two episodes, so make sure to go check those out if you haven't already. But let's just dive right in.
Let's do it. So we kicked this conversation off by talking with Mark about what his expectations were when he first got into this business. And so for those of you who don't know, Mark used to work in sales for an automotive company and thought he was mostly going to be doing auto restoration jobs with his new blasting business. But that wasn't necessarily the case, was it, Jeff?
No, it wasn't. Now, Mark still gets calls about restoring cars here and there, but he actually landed a 13-pool job from a pool company in his first week of being in business. And this opportunity secured consistent work for him and showed him how important it is not to get locked into only doing one type of job. So let's hear what Mark has to say about that.
I came out of a car background. Not only that, I worked with an auto parts manufacturer sales. I traveled through the whole state of Kentucky, Southern Indiana, Southern Ohio. I knew a lot of shops, knew a lot of car people. I thought when the word got out that I was just going to be inundated with car calls. People were going, all these hot rodders and stuff in our area. We have a huge, and Louisville has this huge hot rod show every year. And so I just thought, I'm going to get a lot of calls. And I really, to this day, I've gotten some, but not like I thought I was going to get. The pool thing was funny because I got a call. Pools was never even on my radar. Never even watched a video on a pool, never even thought about pools. I mean, it just was something I never thought about. So I got a phone call. They had somebody that was sandblasting. I think he retired, and this pool company was actually using hand grinders to do a whole pool. And so I laughed when he told me that. I said, "Are you serious? You're a hand grinder?" And he said, "We're buying grinders every day." The first thing he said was, "Do you do pools?" And I said, "Sure." Of course, I had never done pools. I'm like, "Yeah, I do pools." And so then I explained to him, I said, "I'm brand new in the business. My equipment is capable of doing that. I haven't done any yet, but sure, I'd like to go look at them." And basically how it came out was, I think the owner of the company, she called me. She gave me a list of like 8 pools. I went and looked at every one of them, gave an estimate for every one of them. And then we kind of went down the list. I think I got 6 out of the first 8. So that was the 6 that I did from September to December. And I had to fight not only being out of town, because I had to go to Dayton and Cincinnati, which is an hour and a half to 2 hours, away from my area. Then the rest were in my area. So being out of town, you have to be really prepared. You got to take everything with you. You can't just run back to the shop if you forgot something. So you pack everything. And then, I had the local jobs, which wasn't bad. I don't want to say they're a lot more flexible. If I had to stop for some reason, I could stop, go do what I need to do, and then go back to the job. So it worked out really well. I still don't want to say I'm an expert or I have a certain niche, because I'm always open to anything. I mean, like boats, for example, going to Florida and doing a boat. While I was there, we did some woodwork on a house. I spent 3 days with him working on a house, and that was a learning curve. I had never really done that much wood. I did little things, just playing around, but I had not really done any real woodwork. So that was interesting. You definitely don't. I tell everybody that calls me, I say, do not get yourself stuck in one thing. Just keep your eyes and ears open for anything, because there's so many different surfaces and there's so many different things. Even if there is 10 blasters in your area, there may be something you find that you're going to do and do really good at that they're not even touching.
And Mark is so right. Dustless blasting machines really are limitless, which allows you to take on jobs in just about any industry. Now, Mark has taken on a wide variety of jobs and really enjoys helping people who are thinking about going into business for themselves with our machines.
That's right. Mark said he gets calls all the time about what it's like when you first start out. So we asked him, what advice would he give to someone who is about to start their own dustless blasting business? And here's what he had to say about that.
The first thing, it's one of the things I did, is maybe this is just the business, but instead of just thinking about buying a blaster, thinking about all the other stuff you need, because there is a ton of other equipment and other parts you need. So I usually try to go down the list with new people that are calling me. Even if it's just keeping a bunch of spare parts on, you have wear parts on our machines that have to be replaced on a regular basis. And you never know when you're on the job, one simple little switch or connector or something can down you for the day if you don't have those parts. So I try to give them a list of things and parts that they need that will keep the machine from finishing a job. And so I go over the list of those with new people. I go tell them about, having extra hose and extra wiring and cleanup equipment and, just some basic stuff. There is a variety of nozzles. That's why I tell people, the machine comes with one nozzle. That's a good nozzle for just about everything, but there is some better tools for the job. So like the XL nozzle, I've used the XL nozzle on pools, but without that, I feel like it takes a lot longer. It's a bigger nozzle, covers a bigger area. You can stand away from it, so you're not bent over as much. It's just a better tool. The little ST nozzle, you've done, anybody that's done any kind of like furniture that's real small, fine metal pieces of metal, that will help save on some of the media that you lose. It's not really a technique, it's just really the way you should be doing it, is start off low, always do low volume, low pressure, and work your way up. Unless you just know the surface and know you're not going to tear it up, then it's not so bad. You can start off higher. But start off gradually, because you can always do more. You can't go back and replace something that you removed that you didn't mean to. The other part, as far as them getting into business, is looking into doing some kind of advertising. Now, I have used your all's promotional package, and the question I get is it worth it? And I tell them, it's like, look, to me, it was, because you all know the blasting business. I said, for me to go out and hire a web designer or a marketing firm or whatever to do something, they don't really know my business. You all know the business. You are going to know how to advertise for me. So I said, yes, it was worth it to me. I said, not only that, my first week in the business, I got a call from a pool company. And I said, without them setting up my website, getting me on Google and all that, they would have never probably seen me. So if you're good enough, you can do it on your own, that's fine. I didn't have the time to do it. That's why I used you all, because you all knew what you were doing and you could set up all that stuff for me. So that was perfect for me. Again, I tell everybody, if you're the same as me, then that works great. You may have the knowledge to be able to do websites and figure out how to get yourself on Google and all that. So I just tell them advertising is important, and to get somebody that knows what they're doing. And if you don't know anything, use you all, because you all helped me get started. I mean, that's what you did for me was what got me into business.
That is really great advice, especially about stocking up on maintenance and wear parts. And if you're someone who's thinking, I have no idea what you guys are talking about, I would recommend you check out our maintenance playlist on our YouTube channel or our whole maintenance page in our academy to learn more about what type of maintenance is involved and which parts are needed for that. And you can find all the parts needed in our online store to see prices and really get a better understanding of the required maintenance.
Yeah, that's so true. I think it's definitely important for people to plan ahead of time and know what they'll need, but also plan where they're going to store these extra parts, specifically your media. Mark gave us a great pointer about storing media because he doesn't live too close to a major distributor. He has a friend locally that sells crushed glass, which works out great for him, as we mentioned in our previous episode. But if Mark needs something else besides crushed glass, he has to order it from someone that's 2 hours away. So let's hear what his advice is on purchasing and storing media if you don't live close to a distributor.
Make sure you're able to get media somewhere, whether it's 2 hours away or right down the street. Make sure you have that, because I think a lot of people get into it and that's an afterthought, which it kind of was with me. So I looked at it one way. If I had to order it and have it shipped in and I'm working by myself, well, then I have to go by the shipping company and they say it's going to be here on the 15th. So you take the 15th and you sit in your office all day waiting to unload this stuff. Well, then, and this happened to me, by the way, it doesn't show up that day. Well, I call and like, what's going on? Well, we didn't have anything out in your area. It'll be shipped tomorrow. Well, now tomorrow's another day I had to sit and wait. So now you've lost 2 work days. So it's a minor thing, but it's still a consideration, because if you're wasting your time sitting there waiting for shipments of stuff to come to you instead of being out working, what good is it?
Right.
If you stock it and you decide to go get it, then you also have to have the truck to be able to carry it. So my truck's able to carry 2 2,000-pound pallets. I wish I could fit, it holds 6,000 pounds. If I had room to fit a third pallet, I would. But so I can do 2 pallets at a time. Unfortunately, in my area, other than my friend's company that has crushed glass, if I need other media or I want a different grade or whatever that he doesn't really have that much of at the time, I have to go on average about 2 hours from my home to go get it. So that's another thing. If you have to drive 2 hours, 2 hours there, loading time, 2 hours back, so you got 4 or 5 hours your day is shot just getting media. So I think that's important, is to make sure you either stock some, have a dry place to keep it, and make sure you have somewhere readily available. Like Patrick in Florida, he's got a guy just a few minutes down the road from him. He can get stuff whenever he wants. I don't have that luxury. So
Right.
everybody's different. I talked to a gentleman from South Carolina. He said he has a supply company near him that's like 10 or 15 minutes from his house. He can get whatever he needs, not only blasting supplies, but media also. So, I mean, I don't have that luxury. I have to go at least 2 hours to find all that stuff.
That really is awesome advice, especially if you're someone like Mark who works alone and doesn't have someone who can just sit at a shop or sit at home and wait for the abrasive to be delivered. Stocking up is for sure a great move.
Exactly. Mark really did have so much great advice for us this episode. The next big tip he wanted to share was about doing research on the trailer and making sure your truck can pull it when it's fully loaded with water, media, additional tools that you're planning on bringing to the job.
It's very important to have the right truck for the job. When I showed up, bought the 500, I had an F-150, and Lewis kind of looked at me, he's like, so I made it home fine, and actually I did several jobs using my small truck, but I found out very quick that the water tank being full, that's an extra 1,200 pounds that probably a lot of people don't think about. A 2,000-pound pallet of media, you got to put it somewhere.
Yeah.
It's either got to be loaded on the trailer in the right spot, or it's got to be in the truck. One of the tips I do want to give is you don't ever want to be caught out on the road and have an accident and find out your truck and trailer was overloaded. I mean, you're setting yourself up for a lawsuit. So I always tell everybody, make sure you have at least a 3/4 ton truck. If you're going to use a 1/2 ton truck, make sure you're not over your weight. I mean, you really have to pay attention to the tags on the truck. You know what the trailer, how much the trailer weighs, how much the stuff you're putting on weighs. It's just important to have a bigger, heavier truck because you can overload one really quick, very quick. So I have a 1 ton truck now with a flatbed, and it's a dually. I can carry anything I want for the job, and I've never not had what I needed for the job because it wouldn't fit on the truck or I couldn't carry it because it was too heavy.
Now it's important to keep in mind that Mark didn't purchase our smallest trailer, the DB500 Mobile S, that can be pulled by a 1/2 ton truck. He actually had our XL trailer that's much bigger. But regardless, we always recommend you check your towing capacity. And if you don't have a truck or you're worried about the towing capacity of your truck, our DB500 GT series is always a great option.
That is true. You can literally jump in the truck and go straight to the job without having to attach a trailer.
But wrapping up here with Mark, I did ask him about some of his most rewarding jobs and how his personal life has changed since owning his blasting business. And here's what he had to say.
It's definitely rewarding. Like I said, the little job that I did with the brick, just seeing this old couple that was so happy with the way it turned out, I was like, it was pretty cool. A lot of people look at it, and I think one of the biggest compliments you can get, for one, is get return business or referrals. But I think the other thing, if you ever do cars or in the car restoration business, is the painters. The guys you have to make the most happiest is the guys that are painting the cars. If you've made his job easier and did a really good job and got the right profile, the very first car I did, the painter came out, rubbed his hand across it, and he said, "It's ready to paint right now." He was happy with the texture or profile that was left on that, and that was done wet. And we had it on the rotisserie, so we were able to flip the car around. But he came over and looked at it. He's like, "Man," he goes, "that's ready to paint. That's great." Oh. So to make their job easier and they like it and they compliment you, that's definitely rewarding. And like I was saying with the pulls, I have more flexibility. So if I have to leave, say my daughter is getting out of school early, needs to be picked up or something like that, I can stop what I'm doing, go get her, and take care of that and go back to work, which is great. Nobody's going to holler at me. Nobody's going to say, "Hey, we're docking your pay." You know, it's great. I think from a family aspect, it's great because I do have more time and I'm able to schedule around family events and just stuff in general. I'm able to schedule a little bit better. And most people understand when you tell them, especially when it's a family thing, say, "Hey, look, I can do this these days, but this day I have this event." They're like, "Sure, family first, no problem. Do it when you can," you know. And I really like that. That's good working for yourself.
Thank you, Mark. We so appreciate you and all the awesome advice you gave our followers. And that's all for this episode of Pointers with the Pros. And actually, this is the last one for 2021.
That's right. So yes, guys, happy holidays and happy new year to all of you out there. But let us know what topics you'd like us to cover on Pointers with the Pros in 2022, and we'll see you guys next year.